As summer approaches, I'm reminded of some of the best memories I had as a kid. See, when I used to live with my mom and my stepdad in the summertime, we would get in the car and just drive. And we would go to national parks in Northern California, Nevada, even as far north as Oregon. And it's just some of the best memories I had as a kid because we would go to hiking trails and mountains and places to fish and just see all these things that I never would have seen or witnessed had we not got in the car and just drove. So as your summer gets here, I want to give you the 7 essential musts to have an epic family road trip. There's something fun about just getting in a car and just driving with your family, not really having a destination in mind, and just, you never know what's going to unfold. And as we get here closer to the summer, I know that we're planning our next family road trip. So here are just some of the tips we want to give you to make sure that you have an epic road trip for you and your family. For the first thing, and this is a little bit unconventional advice or a tip, but as you approach going on your next road trip, you're probably going to spend money. You're going to have to buy gas, you're going to have to pay for lodging, you're going to have to buy snacks and so many other things. And one way that you can put more money in your pocket is by taking advantage of reward points. And that's in the form of credit cards. Now with credit cards, this is something that I was completely oblivious to. And for those that know my story, you know I'm not a big fan of credit cards because I saw my dad struggle with credit card debt and I followed down that same path. But once I got with my wife and we got on the same page, now we use credit cards for everything. And I mean everything. If we're at the drive-thru McDonald's and want to buy a large fountain Coke, we're putting that on a credit card. But we pay that credit card, all our credit cards off every single month. And recognizing that, we started looking at using reward points. And there's different types of reward cards that you can use. You can use reward cards for airline miles, getting free lodging, or just getting cash back. But since we're talking about road trips, one credit card you might want to take a look at is the Capital One Buy Power card. So why this card? The Buy Power card will give you 5% earnings on your first $5,000 in purchases every year, then 2% unlimited earnings thereafter. You can take advantage of these amazing earnings that don't expire and put them towards the purchase or lease of an eligible new Chevy, Buick, GMC, or Cadillac vehicle. Once again, this is just one option. Take a look at all the different reward credit cards. As I mentioned, you're going to be spending money anyway as you're hitting the road, so might as well put more money back in your pocket and taking advantage of these reward points. Okay, the second essential must in having an epic family road trip is having one major destination in mind. And when I think about this, I think about the movie Vacation with the Griswolds when they're going to Walley World. You know, they had that one major destination in mind. And in my own family, 2 summers ago, we went on an epic RV trip, and our only destination in mind was the Grand Canyon. That's the only place that we wanted to go. And every place that we hit on the way there or on the way back was just icing on the cake. So that was our one major destination. And that ties into point number 3, is to leave out all the small details. So if you are a planner, like my wife is a mega planner, like she typically wants to know what we're doing every single minute of every single day. And if you're trying to plan an epic family road trip, getting hung up on all these little details, it's going to drive you crazy. Another case in point example, last spring break, we didn't know where we were gonna go. We just knew we wanted to go somewhere, and we ended up deciding to go to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. And that was our one major destination. Other than that, we had no plans whatsoever. So when we got down there, we ended up going to the Smoky Mountains. We rode go-karts, we did laser tag. We did so many different things on every single day that we didn't care about the small details. We just focused on one day at a time, and we had a blast. Okay, number 4 is not so much a must, but bear with me. Having a newer car helps, especially if you're going on a long road trip. So once again, whenever I was younger going on these road trips with my mom and my stepdad, we had an older style GMC truck that only had a cassette player. Do you remember that, cassette players? So here I was sitting in the front cab with my mom and my stepdad listening to his cassette tapes. And my stepdad was a huge Neil Diamond fan. Now, I appreciate Neil Diamond now, but when you're 9 years old, Neil Diamond was not on your wanna be played list. So I was forced to listen to Neil Diamond over and over and over again. Sweet Caroline, bum bum bum. Trust me, I got tired of listening to Neil Diamond. So I think about vehicles nowadays. When you have DVD players, you have USB ports, you have a controlled air on both sides for husband and wife. Since my wife likes the car temperature at 89 degrees when we're driving, I want it 69 degrees. All these little features make that car ride, make that road trip so much more enjoyable, especially when you have younger kids. But I don't want you getting into debt going on an epic family road trip. So don't go out and buy a new car just to make your road trip more enjoyable. And once again, that's where that Capital One Buy Power Card can help, because you can use those reward points to purchasing a new car for your next family epic road trip. With these newer cars with DVD players and USB ports is great, and most likely your kids are going to take some sort of iPad or tablet with them to keep them occupied, and that's all fine. It's nice to have that peace and quiet, especially on very long road trips. But you gotta monitor that screen time that your kids have. And one of the best ways you can do that is playing old-fashioned card games. And two of the games that our kids love to play are I Spy and the alphabet game. So if you're not familiar with I Spy, that's where somebody in the car will say, I spy something green. And then you have to try to figure out what that person spied. Another game is the alphabet game, and my kids love this game. This is where you start with the alphabet, the letter A, and then you try to find that letter as you're driving along, whether that be street sign, on license plates, on different cars. And then getting through the alphabet definitely takes up a lot of time and a lot of fun. Recently, my middle son and I were driving to St. Louis, and we just were kind of driving along. I think he was playing on his iPad. And I said, hey buddy, let's play the alphabet game. And he had a blast. That kept us occupied for over an hour trying to go from letters A through Z. Okay, number 6 is a must. And we have 3 young boys that I swear are human garbage disposals. These kids eat anything and everything all day long. So you have to have a snack bag. We pack a snack bag on long road trips, short road trips. If we're just driving to the grocery store, we have a snack bag. And depending what you want to include in that snack bag, typically what we have are Fishies or Cheez-Its or crackers. Now if you have some more time to prepare, you want to take a cooler, you could take apples, bananas, and fresh fruit, and other drinks. And when you're in the car for hours upon hours, having that snack bag is just going to make that trip go so much faster, because you don't have to stop every 15 minutes and make sure that your kids are not hungry or starving, as our kids like to say. Okay, the 7th and final must in having an epic family road trip is that you have to remember it's all about the family. When I reflect back on our trip to the Grand Canyon, that was where I wanted to go. And to be quite honest, once we got to the Grand Canyon, our kids were really unimpressed. They thought, oh wow, that's kind of cool. But they were done after about 15 minutes. And I think about of all the things we did in that road trip, and the one thing that pops out of my mind as they had the most fun is when we found this random splash pad in some small town in Kansas that we literally stumbled upon. And we spent about 2 hours there. It was just us and our boys, and they were running around like crazy hooligans, like you would just imagine 3 crazy boys would do. And that was the highlight of their trip, was this random splash pad in the middle of Kansas. It wasn't the Grand Canyon, it wasn't the RV itself, it was this one random place. So one way that you can remember, this is an exercise that we do every single day when we're on a road trip or on a vacation, is we ask our kids, ask our boys, what was your most favorite part about today? And we love asking that question, because what we think it might be, where it might be an amusement park or some roller coaster, sometimes it's the little things, like getting ice cream or seeing somebody dressed up as a stuffed animal or at an amusement park, or just those little random things that you wouldn't expect. It's not what you think would be the highlight of their day. So ask them what their most favorite part about that day is, and that will keep it about the family and make sure that your next road trip is epic. This is Jeff Rose from GoodFinancialSense.com. Until next time, make your next road trip epic and have fun. Take care.